Right, so I'm going to tell you a story. Let me start 2 years ago, and it was a day colder than this in London. It was colder than this. I was sat on a bench in Victoria Embankment Gardens, and Victoria Embankment Garden is beside Scotland Yard, so it overlooks Westminster Bridge. Really cold day, lots of people scooting about, and I had to take a sensitive phone call. And the phone call was with an occupational health advisor. So I sat down, people were buzzing about, started the call, nice lady, we began the conversation. So she goes through a series of structured questions. If you've ever had one, you know the kind of drill that it goes through. One of the questions she asked was, have you ever had thoughts of harming yourself? I answered, yes. How often do you have these thoughts? And I answered, all the time. Now, as I was saying the words coming out of my mouth, I realised actually at that point how bad I was and the effect that my organisation had on me. So I want to just explain in a few minutes how I came to sit on that bench and how I came to say those words. I was pretty hard, pretty confident in myself. Now I could deal with situations, but then after about 10 years working a career and climbing my way up, I joined an organisation that was set up off the back of the Stephen Lawrence murder and the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, and IPCC, and it became the Independent Office for Police Conduct. I worked my way up and became the Director for London in 2019. Shorthand version of that is anything horrible that you've read about the Met Police over the past few years, I dealt with every single case, every single tragedy, ranging from Sarah Everard, Wayne Couzens, to Nicole Smallman, Biba Henry, to the killing of Chris Kaba, every single case. Now, it was a high-profile job, it was a difficult job, but my biggest challenge in that job wasn't actually the Metropolitan Police, it was my own organisation. It was an organisation that was set up to drive change in policing, but which actually, when it came to the crunch, and had to do the difficult yards on calling out discrimination, misogyny, racism. Everything was a fight. Everything was difficult. Everything required me to be the tip of the spear. And being the tip of the spear for so long meant eventually I became blunted. I became blunted not just through the atmosphere, but through concerted efforts to break me. It was people from underneath, it was people from top. And around that, during the time that I had the job, we had COVID, I had family bereavement. I came across this idea and this atmosphere where I was resilient, I knew how to handle myself, but the things were happening to me and I felt like the ground was giving away underneath me. I didn't really understand what was happening to me. And what was happening to me was my mental health was being devastated by bullying, by harassment, by victimization, by institutional racism, all these things that we were supposed to challenge, you know, I was the victim of. I don't really like to describe myself as a victim at all. I was the most senior person of colour working in the whole system across England and Wales at that time to do with police accountability. And eventually, because I was dealing with so much, I fell down. I didn't understand what was happening. Mental health was something that happened to other people. No, I was a middle-aged man. It's not for me. Seeing a counsellor, what's that all about? That's not for me. I'm not going to do that, until I became so desperate that I went down that road. Because my family deserved the best version of me. Working at that level for nearly 5 years was brutal, absolutely brutal. And I fell down, but like a calcified bone, I came back. I came back and saw off the people that were trying to break me. Literally saw them off. And when seeing them off, I headed up one of the biggest stories 3 years ago to do with Charing Cross Police Station. Came back into the press recently, but back then I lifted the lid on what a toxic culture looked like inside the Metropolitan Police, where serving officers were bullying other serving officers, racism, harassment, misogyny, homophobia, Islamophobia, everything, brought it into the disinfectant of sunlight. I did it while still not being 100%. I did it through sheer grit and will and a refusal to lie down. Chose to walk. I told them I'm going to resign. They didn't want me to resign, but I made up my mind up. And one of the things as part of my resignation was to have that call with the occupational health advisor. So that's why I was sat on that bench 2 years ago. That's when I realised how bad workplaces can make you feel, literally, and how bad they can break you down if you let them. After having that call on the bench, my final act as Director for London at the IOPC was to walk into Scotland Yard and to give evidence to Baroness Casey, who was doing her review at the time, which found that the Met was not only still institutionally racist, but was also institutionally misogynistic and institutionally homophobic. So I tell this story for one main reason, and the way I try and make sense of it all is, there's this quote by Rumi which says, the light enters you where you're wounded most. And it's when I was wounded most, that's when I really understood how precious my mental health was, because I didn't understand anything about it then. And ever since then, I've understood actually what it's like to confront old notions of masculinity. Being a grizzled 50-year-old man, what that actually meant, and some of the hang-ups I actually had around it, which all gave way, which enabled me to speak about these things to 12 strangers stood, on a cold Birmingham evening in front of the German market and all this neon glory.